Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Reviews. Tonight, we're going to talk about the Anacrusis. The Anacrusis is a four-player cooperative first-person shooter developed and published by Stray Bombay. Stray Bombay is a fairly new studio. This is their first game. Basically has a veteran of the industry in it, Chet Falsick, who basically did some writing for Half-Life, Portal, and Left 4 Dead. Studio started up back in 2018. So it's got this 70s airport vibe. It's set in a space station. You're fighting monsters, early access. So basically came out this month, January 13, 2022, for PC and Xbox Series and Xbox One. So let's kind of see what everybody thinks about the 70s motif four-player cooperative first-person shooter. Nick, what are your initial thoughts on this one, man?
It has potential to be something good. I would say personally, for me at the moment, it is not really anything spectacular or good. It's not bad. It's just not anything really. I mean, it's your poor man's four-player co-op PvE style game. I mean, there's a lot better entries out there to play, like Back 4 Blood or Left 4 Dead, or that's the only two I can think of at the moment. I know there's other games like that out there, but this is trying to strive to be one of those. We just got one of these types of games, which is Back 4 Blood, which Back 4 Blood, in my opinion, is 10 times better than this. I like the 70s motif and everything like that, the atmosphere, like 70s in space and everything. Aliens are wearing the flowered suits and stuff like that. I kind of like that. I wish they'd go more into it. It's definitely early access. There's not a lot there. There's some items and some weapons, but it's very limited on the amount. And while the creatures, I think, are the main creatures, if you think of Left 4 Dead, like you got the tanks and spitters and stuff like that, they kind of have this same idea here. And I think all of them work in a fairly cool way. I think they did bring up some new ideas than just recycling what we usually see. Of course, they did recycle some, but we do have at least a couple of new ones that have some new types of ways of going about it, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But ultimately, I think this game is right now. I would not recommend it. I would recommend waiting until much further down the line when they come up with something good. So that's what I'm saying. Until they get more content is what I'm saying. So that's what I think about it. What about you, Shane?
You pretty much hit every nail on the head. It's not a bad game. It is just not a complete game. It is not a remotely complete game. It has interesting ideals. I do have to say I love the setting. I love the color. The music kind of ticks me off because if you listen to it, you're going to hear that the music is a ripoff of certain songs. I don't want to name names, but yeah, there's some ripping off in there. I do expect to hear 70s porn music as we play, but we haven't heard it yet. So that's kind of sad and good at the same time. The weapon selection is just like the enemy selection. It's very limited, but interesting enough. You have a primary pistol, just pretty much on every game, unlimited ammo. And then you have a SMB, and then you have a plasma rifle, and then you have the shotgun. And then you have a few power weapons that you pick up throughout the map, like an arc rifle and some other things. And just like, the enemies, there's a few of your kind of generic standard run and attack you monsters. And then you have some that grab you and some that, hawk loogies on you. And then your friends got to knock the crap off of you and stuff. but it was enjoyable, but it was just all too brief. Even for early access, I think they went way too early on this access. It's 3 missions, maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours we put into those 3, maybe a hair more. And then there was like a weekly, I believe that was called. So there's not a lot of content there. It may have took us a little bit longer for those missions, but there's just not enough going on. I would not recommend buying it by any means, because it's so limited. But I think they're onto something. And I think with proper feedback, I think they can make the good changes. And then when it goes full release, they could have something here. It's definitely a solid start for a first game. I'll give them that. What about you, Pat?
Yeah, so there, it's very early access, and if you're not okay with some bugs and some shortness of the game, it's not for you. Early access games are not for you if you can't handle some of that stuff, and if you're not willing to report some of the bugs and do some of that stuff. If you got Game Pass, it's early. They don't call it really early access on there. They call it preview, game preview. It's on Game Pass free preview. So if you got Game Pass, you can free preview it without paying. On Steam, I think it's like $24 or something like that. The benefit of usually getting early access is you get it at a discount. If you do like Steam or something, you get it at a discount. Usually when the game comes out full price, they'll be $40 to $60, just depending on the game. So have to keep that in mind, that it is early access and that it's going to be buggy and it's going to be short. And that's not what we're reviewing it on. We're reviewing on merit of what the game has potential. And the setting is kind of interesting, as they've all said. It's that weird 70s motif with the 70s colors, and everybody looks like they're in 70s colored Star Trek outfits that are pastel colors. And it's an interesting setting, and all the aliens are they're just weird looking. They got their own little 70s motif thing going on, and there's different variations on them. And the perk system is, there's a little bit more explanation needs to be given on some of this stuff as they get further on, but they have a roadmap published. So if you're interested in that, you can go to their website and check out their short-term and long-term roadmaps. They're looking to do every other week updates to the game, whether that's fixing bugs or adding stuff and things like that. And they have long-term and short-term cadences set up, which is what I really like to see in an early access game. If they've roadmapped it out, that's usually a pretty good thing. But supposedly, from what I might understand, the studio has Chet Falsick on it, which came from Valve. He did did some writing and stuff for Half-Life and Left 4 Dead. So co-op shooter, Left 4 Dead, and that's pretty much that wheelhouse. And Nick said we just got one. So it's really hard to review something and stay away from that. It's got this wrong and that wrong, which you can't focus on what's wrong with an early access game, right? It's just, is it fun? It's got an interesting concept. I'm not a fan of non-story driven type co-op shooters to some extent, because they're just do the same thing over and over and over and over. And there's, some stuff's probably not built in the game, right? They're talking about perks and all this stuff. The only thing I saw was the matter converter, where you can go in and you get an upgrade as you run through the map. And there's so many matter converters per run, and you get things like tracking bullets or healing goo and all kinds of weird stuff. So they've got a plethora of weapons to start with. And it didn't seem too awfully difficult. The AI has got some pathing issues right now, which should be expected, and some stuff like that. So ultimately, I think it does have potential, especially co-op shooter, especially if it sticks around the $30. Because I think they're saying that right now it's on sale on Steam for $23.99, normally $29.99. So I don't know if that's going to be their full price release, $30. If so, then that's the level of game you're going to get. So I'm kind of excited to see what they'll come up with. I mean, we all love a good co-op game. So far, what they've put into it looks pretty good, though. I mean, the space station, the damage to the station, it all looks kind of cool. Ultimately, for early access game, there wasn't a whole lot of issues that I ran into. Not a whole lot of game-breaking things. Mostly just AI pathing and AI type ability, AI type stuff. They just seem to be completely random. Sometimes they can clip through walls and things like that. So ultimately, I think this one has potential, especially because who's on the new studio with them, because this is Stray Bombay's first game. So we'll see. I don't know. I didn't read up on what their plan, or I didn't see a plan for when they were talking about the game should be coming out full. But, like I said, it just came out in early access just a few days ago.
Yeah, the game has got promise. Like I said, it's just I worry with a lot of these games. Is the feedback going to be well enough where they continued to work on it, or are they just going to end up? You know what? It's just not going to make it from what we can tell. We're just going to call it quits, which would really upset me because I think the game does have a lot of potential. It's just it is early access, and people have got to remember that people cannot be mad when they run into any kind of an issue or they're complaining about the length. It's because it's early access, so make sure that you pay attention to that. The technical issues, about the only one I really was bothered with was just some lagging issues when you were really, and we're talking a lot of AI on you at one time, plus, 4 of us running around. It got pretty hectic at times, and it didn't happen a lot, but there was some lag issues with that. But for what they were doing and early access, I think they'll have that ironed out too before full launch. I do wish that the maps were a little more varied. The three missions you get one that was pretty decently varied because it was outside. You guys remember that one? But everything else is kind of indoory, and the paint schemes do mix in a lot. But
we are on a space station, so you can't vary too much.
That is true. Yeah, you can only go outside until you can't breathe. So, but I don't want to badmouth the game because I do feel it's got a lot of promise, but I just don't feel right now is a good purchase.
Yeah,
me.
So from what I understand, reading through like some of their roadmap and stuff like that, they're basically kind of wrapping up some bugs, finishing up episode 4 and 5, planning to be out of early access sometime second half of this year. So closer to probably holiday of this year. So they actually got a plan to come out of early access this year, which is great, but we'll see. Like I said, they've been working on this. I think the studio Stray Bombay, they started like back in 2018 or something like that, developing and working on this and stuff like that. They've got funding from Riot and Upfront Ventures. So they've got funding and capital. I just think they were probably ready to see if they can get a little bit more capital by doing an early access. Basically, it's, for the most part, it's paid for beta testing, right? If you think about it, you're paying them to beta test their game, what early access is. But small, brand new studio with a veteran writer in the industry. The story, I didn't really get a lot of story, even though from what I read, the first couple episodes are supposed to give you the story. But I don't think there was a bug, I think, in where the story narration didn't quite come through in some of the stuff. So, I have high hope for it, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see once it comes out early game preview or early access, if it'll still be on Game Pass. You never know what'll happen with that. But right now it's on Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC. So you got to check it out and wherever you play. If you only have a PlayStation, you're kind of SOL at the moment. I don't know if it's going to come out. It doesn't mention that it's going to be coming out on that delivery method, but who knows? Never know.
Yeah. What about you, Nick? Is there anything that you really enjoyed or really disliked, or what are your big takeaway from it on their path that they're going on?
I haven't looked at the roadmap, but I'm I do want to play the rest of it because they do right now. They just have 3 episodes that are available. So episode 4 and 5, like Pat said, will be out later. I think it's a good start for a new development company, but for me, I wouldn't say that the only thing bad I would say, or wish something that they would put more into, is the 70s space theme that they have going on here. Because right now, like playing through the game, it almost seemed like that theme was just the wallpaper, right? And nothing else really threw that theme at you. And I really, it was funny to see like all the 70s stuff, but there's not like, I mean, in episode 2, they have those kind of rooms that kind of throw that in there. but that was it. I want to see like lava lamps hanging around and like, just like weird robots, like the 70s space design robots and stuff that are zooming around and everything like that. Like, just really if you're going to go with that 70s sci-fi, like really go for it. I mean, they have that one little cutscene that really goes for it. That one that's kind of in between episodes, between 2 and 3, I believe, or whatever. But that's really the only part where they really hit that 70s sci-fi aspect. Other than that, it was almost like everything looks that way, but nothing feels that way, right? It almost felt like everything else was just your normal run and gun shooter. And of course, I'm sure they'll have more weapons. A lot more weapons are needed. They definitely need to change the pistol. That thing sucks. It's like basically worthless. But I'm sure they'll have, they'll probably make with feedback and stuff. I'm sure the pistol will get better, and they'll introduce more weapons. In
defense of that pistol, just to cut you off, because once I upgraded the perk on it to the 3-round burst, I enjoyed the pistol. I used it quite a bit.
Sure. The only thing that sucks about the perks,
the
only thing that sucks about the perks too is they're random. So when you go and use the compiler, you get 3 random perks and you can choose one of them. So you could go that entire run. The one you're talking about for the pistol, that never came up for me. So, it's kind of like, but there are some cool perks that do come up. You just gotta, watch yourself if you're selecting through. You might accidentally select one on accident without actually reading. That happened to me. But yeah, I mean, they got a long way to go. This is a good start for a brand new company. I think they got something potentially. I've played a lot of early access games. Not all of them are great. This one's definitely not, for me, definitely not in the great category, but I'm not super disappointed with it. I'm hoping that they stick with it and they stick with that roadmap and it turns into something really cool. Because I think it has potential, but right now that potential's not there yet.
Right. Yep. And like I said, you can tell by the writer, it has some similarities to like Left 4 Dead and stuff like that. One of the things I will say is that if you don't have 4-player friends like we do, it will try to matchmake you with a 4th player. And if it doesn't find one, you'll get a bot. And the bot seems to be pretty decent AI. I mean, the bot's very helpful. It will get you up if you're down. It'll heal you.
More than you guys did.
Well, that's because you suck. You freaking couldn't find yourself out of a wet paper sack, so just left you. So the AI would get you up. The AI would heal you if you were low, that kind of stuff. So the AI seemed to be pretty good in that aspect, which a lot of the co-op games they are, right? The AI is somewhat more responsive than even your own teammates. Sometimes you're like, I'm down. What the hell are you? And the AI has already found you.
You suck.
Right? So the AI has already found you by the time your friends can. So I think it has potential, and I want to see more of that 70s motif it's got going on. They need to get a little bit more 70s music going on in there too.
Yeah,
probably just can't afford it.
Maybe throw like a little more on the comedic route of it, because I think that's kind of what they're trying for with some of the dialogue that we did actually get to hear. So I would like to see that, shoot a gun off that, hits people with disco balls or some crap, or, every time
really go into that
flip
theme.
On a light, you get the disco ball drop, and you got the 70 porn, kicking on the monsters are making. Oh, wait a minute.
That's what you need. You need a 70s ultimate weapon that when you fire it, it's a disco and all the aliens just start doing the disco. It's like a crowd control.
We
need furry walls and everything. I mean, we need like the whole, like go full 70s sci-fi with it. I mean, like you got that theme. That's the thing about this game too, is there's no other than like, besides 70s is like what Deathloop, I guess, is kind of like a 70s, 80s type of kind of atmosphere. But this really tries to go into that 70s sci-fi. So like just take the reins because no one else has that, right? You don't play another game that has that 70s sci-fi theme with it. So just take it and go crazy with it. Like I want to see all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and one other thing before we go, guys, you've got to change that logo. If Atari sees it, they're going to shit a brick.
It's very close to the Atari. Not
really
quite,
is. It really is close.
Atari's only 3. They got 4. So, theirs looks more 70s. But it really does remind you of like 70s airport movies that you've seen, 70s sitcoms. So they've got that going for them. So I think it'll be, only time will tell. If they actually come out of early access before the end of the year, I will be amazed the game came out of early access the same year it went in. More power to these guys if they can make it happen. All right. outside of the logo, anybody got anything else they want on this one before we put it to bed?
If you got Game Pass, check it out, but I wouldn't pay.
I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't pay for it, but if you have Game Pass for PC or Xbox, go check it out. But I'm really hoping this developer brings something really cool to the table with this game. They have potential there. Just let's see that potential.
Yep. I mean, I'll leave it installed so we can check out episodes 4 and 5 when they come out.
Yep,
as
for
a
sure.
group. Cool. All right. Let us know what you guys think. If you had a chance to check out this game, let us know what your thoughts are, and let us know what you think about their logo. As Shane says, it looks a lot like Atari's, but it looks like it's got a little bit of some flair to it, So they're gonna, it's different. So, and then make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to tap bell for notifications so you get notified every time we post a new video, which we post multiple videos every week. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope to catch the next one.
See ya.